start the stream and I didn't understand why. But we are here. Perfect. Welcome, Sylvia.
Hi, so good to see you. I feel like it's been a while. Hi, everyone.
Yay. I'm sure most of you know Sylvia, and I don't really need to do a big presentation about you, but I also know that you have a presentation, so maybe you have some introduction of yourself there as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, all good. Hi, Marietta.
Okay. But I want you to know that Sylvia is amazing Montessori, she is the director and owner of my Montessori school in Sydney. She's also the founder of our Facebook community and Guide and Grow brand. The Facebook community now, I think you know, has around 450,000 people or 440,000. So Sylvia is really committed to excellence in early childhood education, and she has been recognized with several industry and business awards. I don't know, like we the names of all of them, but there were many. She holds her Montessori training from her 0 to 3, 3 to 6. She also has bachelor's in communication and master's in teaching, specializing in early childhood. I hope I didn't forget anything. If I
No,
did,
Lucy, you
I'm
covered it
sure that
all.
you will have it in your presentation. And maybe we can start immediately. In the meantime, I just want to say that at the end of this live talk, I will be drawing one person who will get 3 months in the Childhood Potential Club. So please let me know that you are here, especially the people on YouTube who I don't see, the names that you're watching. Maybe you can just write a little bit in the chat. Where are you from? How old are your children? What are you interested in the topic of resilience, which is the topic that Sylvia is going to talk about. And I will see you. I will copy all of the names from the chat and I will put them in the wheel of the names and then we will draw one person.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Floor is
Lucy.
yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm excited today to talk about resilience. I'm just gonna share my screen and see if this will work. Uh, okay, maybe I will get rid of this one. Okay. Are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, maybe you can
Yeah,
put it full screen. So,
yeah, I will. Yeah, I will do that. No.
and everyone, please just share your questions in the chat during the presentation. We can go
Yeah.
back to them and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I will be going through my presentation and then what I'll do is it's usually about 40 minutes. I'll quickly go through it. And then as I'm going along, if people do have questions along the way, please feel free to pop them in the chat. This is going to be, an open conversation. I don't like doing all the talking. I love hearing from people on this particular topic as well. And if there's anything that I can do for you along the way, just let me know. When we talk about resilience for this particular word, a lot of people say, what does that mean? So it means when children are facing some sort of adversity or, they're not sure about something, how do they approach that? How are they going to approach that with confidence, feeling secure, feeling happy, or, wanting to do that thing? Or are they going to be a little bit reserved about that? So how can we really build their strength and confidence and security? So that's what we're talking about, building their self-esteem, building their confidence, making them feel when they do face that adversity to be really strong and be able to handle that or cope with whatever it is that they're facing. And I feel like in today's society, particularly, it's super important that we are building children that are resilient, so that whatever they do face, they really have that skill set that's underlying that can really be used in any situation in life. So definitely not Q&A. I think I was at the end of my presentation. Oh, I'll just quickly scroll back. Thank you, Lucy, for that amazing introduction. I am going to quickly begin with an acknowledgement of country on the land that I am on. I'm actually on Darug land, and that's in respect to the elders, past, present, and future for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here in the nation of Australia. Lucy gave me an amazing, intro. I'm going to skip this part, but really my passion in life is child development and, really helping raise our next generation. I've been in Montessori for over 15 years. I absolutely love it. I get to, speak around the world on these topics, and it's just really about helping build that next generation of children. So the role of relationships, the reason why I wanted to bring this up initially is that relationships are the foundation of anything to do with resilience. Children need to feel connected to us. They need to have that validation, that love, and that secure attachment because that's what's going to really build their positive sense of self. So the opposite to that is if they feel that inconsistency, they have a distorted self-image, and that's going to lead to insecurity, unworthiness. So that self-esteem and self-worth is really the basis of feeling resilient and being resilient. So that's what we need to do with children. We really need to build their confidence and that secure attachment so that they can then develop their coping skills and resilience. Why self-esteem matters. It might be obvious to some, but really it's about their internal self-worth. So it's not about us telling them, oh, you're such a good girl and you're such a good boy. It's about how do they feel intrinsically within them? Do they feel worthy? Do they feel proud? Do they feel confident? What view do they have about themselves? Can they make decisions? What kind of relationships do they have with people in their life? Whether that be their friends, whether that be their parents, whether that be sibling relationship. And of course, high self-esteem really supports their resilience, independence, and emotional regulation. I'm not going to dive into emotional regulation too much. That's kind of one of my specialties. I could talk about it for hours. But today we're really going to talk about the sense of security. So, starting from the top, the purple one, why is security important for children? So, of course, when children feel really secure, they're going to explore and take risks, okay? Because a child that feels secure in their environment says, you know what? I'm going to have a look around here. I'm going to explore a little bit. I think I'm going to take that risk because they don't have any other hesitation in their environment. The second one, trust in relationships. So, emotional safety really fosters that strong and reliable connection with others. If they feel secure in their space, they're going to trust in the relationships of the people around them, whether that be adults or other children. Resilience in challenges. So, it really helps them respond calmly and confidently in situations where they might feel challenged. And that's what we want for our children. We want them to think, you know what, oh, this is a little bit hard. But instead of saying, oh, no, this is too hard, I can't do it, they're going to say, you know what, actually, I think I can do this. Identity development down the bottom. So a stable environment really allows children to discover who they are. If they really are not sure about their space, they're going to feel really reserved. They're going to pull back. They're not going to be able to really explore parts of their personality or identity either. And then the last one is emotional regulation. So, of course, children feel a lot more calm when they feel secure in a space. You can see it very clearly. When you have a child that's insecure in a space, they will start displaying that in other behaviors. So they might be feeling, they might have outbursts. They might be really challenged, with what's going on around them. They could be overstimulated. So that sense of security is super important for a child's regulation. So, why is confidence essential for resilience? So, again, it promotes that curiosity, the challenge taking, it fosters a growth mindset. So, I really want to focus on the middle point here. So instead of children seeing mistakes as, something that, oh no, I shouldn't do that, and oh, I made a mistake, and they get really upset over it, they actually see it as an opportunity to grow. And even as adults, we really need to show children how we foster that growth mindsets. And making mistakes is totally okay. A lot of the time, we don't allow children to make mistakes, or we kind of set them up and then they make a mistake and we don't really teach them what to do about that. So this is a really, really important point when we're talking about building that resilience. And then supporting perseverance. So to keep trying things over and over again, and then it gives them that confidence to actually give it a go. So what can we do to build that confidence, that sense of security, and that self-worth? So, of course, the first thing we're going to talk about is building emotional intelligence. So, when we talk about emotional intelligence, we just mean how does that child know or have the capability or the characteristics to be able to deal with their emotions? Can they label them? Can they talk about their emotions? Have we given them the opportunity to actually go through feeling sad, feeling unsure, feeling uneasy, knowing what to do with those emotions? So, that's super important because if we don't actually help children with that, we're not going to actually build their confidence and sense of self-worth. The second thing I'm going to talk about, which I'm going to go into more detail in the next slide, is avoiding labels. So, what do I mean by labels? Labels means and they could be positive or negative. So, I'll go through that in the next slide. It means things like you're strong, good job, or you're a good boy. That's a label because you're labeling them as being good. So, we'll go into that and why we should avoid those. Positive self-image, so giving them a sense of self-worth, that affirmation, having a sense of image. So if they look at themselves in the mirror, they can say, oh, I feel so good about myself. Instead of looking to us and go, oh, do I look beautiful? Am I good enough? That questioning of their sense of self. Building their intrinsic motivation. So this means that we're building children's motivation from internally. That means that children can actually say, you know what? I feel so proud of myself. I did a really good job on this from themselves, not looking to an adult for that external validation. So instead of looking to us as an adult and being like, oh, did I do a good job? Was I good enough? And feeling insecure about themselves, we want children to feel proud of themselves. So I'm going to teach you how to do that as well. Building children's independence, encouraging decision making, learning from mistakes, and allowing risk taking. So I'm going to go into more detail on all these points. Okay, so here are some examples of some positive and negative labels. Now, usually what I would do is I would workshop this because it's really interesting the type of labels that come up. So, positive labels. So, we generally think that these are really good things to say to children. Oh, you're so smart. You're the best at everything. You're so strong. You're an expert. You're a genius. Now, I'll give you a small scenario as to why these labels might not be as positive as we think that they are. So sometimes if you tell a child that they're so smart, they're going to feel insecure about meeting that standard. So next time, am I going to be smart enough? If I don't hear it from the adult, am I good enough? Am I going to meet that standard? So it actually creates a bit of insecurity with them. And then they feel that they have to meet up to that standard. So it's almost like we're placing this, false sense of self onto a child, and then they attach themselves to that label. And if they don't perform, they're going to be like, oh, well, I'm not good enough and I'm not smart. I had a child about the you're so strong. I had a child that walked into my school and she was carrying a bag and it was so heavy. And she goes, oh, Miss Sylvia, it's so heavy. And, I should have said, you're so strong, right? But I didn't. I just said to her, oh, it looks so heavy. Try using two hands. So what I'm doing there is I'm scaffolding that situation. And she lifts it up and she pushes it in. And I said, she looks at me and I go, you did it. She goes, yes, I'm so strong, right? And she said it herself. So coming from her is so much more valuable to build that skill set so the child feels that they're strong rather than me telling them that they are and not meeting that standard. And then, of course, we all know the negative labels. You're lazy, you're so naughty, bad girl, bad boy. We know in Montessori we don't use a lot of that language because, again, it's just placing that label onto children. So, what can we do that's better? So again, the fear of failure, I mentioned that pressure to perform. Children internalize those labels and believe them to be true. If you keep calling your child lazy, even if it's jokingly, like I know sometimes we're like, oh, stop being so lazy, just pick up your shoes. How many times have I told you, put them away? You just leave your stuff everywhere. I know, it's hard sometimes not to say that, but we can just let them know I can see the shoes are on the floor again. You know, they belong wherever they belong, rather than putting that label onto them, because then they believe that. I'm the lazy one. No, no, no. And they believe that growing up. And so it almost becomes a sense of self and a personality trait that they then associate with. And it's a lot harder to get rid of that later on. You know, always being put down or always being told you're something when you're growing up is actually something that we hold true to ourselves as adults as well. So sometimes, children behave in the ways that align with the label. So if we keep calling them lazy, they start behaving that way because that's what they're constantly being told. Or if they're the naughty one, they're going to always play to being that naughty one because that's the sense of identity that we've built for them. It's almost like, when they say, "Oh, you are what you tell yourself," like the affirmations, or you believe what those things are that you tell yourself. It's the same thing with children, and so we have to really be mindful about what we're telling children and how we're telling them that, because that then becomes their sense of self-worth. Um, and then, of course, a fragile self-worth tied to adult approval. So the sense of self, my identity, comes from the adult's approval of me. If they tell me I'm good enough, I'm good enough. If they tell me I'm smart enough, I'm smart enough. And that's actually really damaging because children are then going to grow up and tie their sense of self-worth to somebody else. And they are not going to feel worthy unless somebody else tells them. And if we think about that, even in relationships as adults, we don't want to have a dependable relationship on someone. We want to feel that strong sense of security and happiness internally so that then we can have a really strong and trustworthy connection with someone else. And then, of course, children may develop really low resilience, believing that these traits are not changeable. So if they are the naughty one or the lazy one, then they can't ever be anything but that. So we have to really be mindful of the impact that these labels have, even if we think that they're a positive one, saying you're strong, you're beautiful, all that kind of stuff. So we have to really shift our thinking and our ways of doing something. So I really love this quote by Peggy O'Mara. It's the way we talk to our children becomes their inner voice. We know that the things that we tell our children and the way we speak to them and all that really becomes who they are, their internal sense of self. So instead of focusing on that external validation and the motivation, we're really going to shift to the intrinsic motivation. How can we build that from the inside? Instead of focusing on the outcome, like you did so well, or, on the particular outcome of that task or of something that they did, we're really going to focus on the effort that they put in because we don't want them thinking that it's only the result of what you've done that matters, because then they're going to think, oh, well, if that result wasn't good, then I'm a failure. So it's really about the effort that they put into something. And then, of course, instead of placing a label onto the child, we're going to build their self-confidence. And I'm going to tell you how to do all of these things. Okay, so what do we say instead? Really simple, practical tips. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to teach you today, and this is like a really mini quick class, and then I really want to open the floor to discussion and everything like that. So the first thing is describe the action. Okay, so we want to really focus on what that child did rather than the outcome. Okay. You put your shoes on all by yourself, you know? So, whatever the thing is that they did, you can describe it. You don't need to say how wonderful, amazing, how, it was that they put their shoes on. You can literally just describe it with a really strong tone that's in a positive way. Acknowledge the effort. You worked really hard on that assignment if it's a teenage child. A lot of the time with older children, and I know this is a early years conference, but even with younger children, like you work so hard on that, and if they're doing a painting, for example, and they use so many colors, wow, you've been doing that for so long and you've used so many colors on that. It's really about the effort that they put into something. We don't want them to be focused on the outcome, because again, if I tell a child that their painting was beautiful and they've just done a few lines on a page, A, I'm lying to them. B, it's not authentic. C, I want them to really reflect on that. How do you feel about that? Ask them questions. Tell me about your painting. Show me what your favorite part is. You're really encouraging them not only to self-reflect, but to also, like share their joy with you rather than you telling them, oh, you did such a great job. So we encourage their pride by saying things like, you did it. This is a really common phrase that I know a lot of you might have heard in Montessori. We're putting it back onto the child. So we're saying, you did it. You did it. Like I told the girl that put her backpack in, the cubby that was so heavy. She did it. It was her. It wasn't me that, t told her that she did a good job about it. She did it. And that way you're really encouraging their sense of self. And then the child will come up to you and go, look, Miss Sylvia, I did it, and that's a really beautiful moment when children can actually reflect on themselves and feel really confident and secure about that. And then, of course, showing gratitude. Thank you so much for helping clean up. It's so helpful when everyone's doing it together. Those are things that, sharing gratitude really helps children feel like a really strong sense of self-worth and a sense of belonging to the community. So they feel like they're part of it. It's not something that they have to do to clean up. It's something that we all do as part of this community, as part of this family. And it just makes it really normal in their everyday. Okay, so we need to remember that self-esteem really grows when children feel seen, heard, and valued, just like I was talking about in their home, in their classroom. Our words really shape their inner voice. So we have to make it kind, we have to make it empowering and respectful as well. Sometimes we don't notice. We don't realize, and it's totally normal. Being a parent, you've got 50,000 other things going on. We're not consciously saying, oh, we have to be mindful about what words are coming out of our mouth. We just talk. It's just habitual. We don't, but if we think about sometimes, oh, you know what? I actually find myself repeating this same word over and over again. Maybe I should change that. And just taking that one thing and running with it. Or instead of saying, good boy or good girl, I'm going to work on something a little bit more empowering or something that's going to encourage the effort or something that's going to, build their self-esteem. So we just take one thing and we really try and work on that because it's really hard otherwise. And you're just going to overwhelm yourself, especially learning so much, throughout this conference. It can get full on with the information. So just keep it really simple. Think, am I being conscious in what I'm saying? Can I use something a little bit more empowering? Encourage children to feel proud of themselves, not just seeking approval. So, not just saying, did I do a good job? Or, you see children, young babies will sit there and they'll start clapping and looking at you like, did it, am I good? Did I, So, yeah, I would then put it back on them and say, oh, you look really proud of yourself. You look so happy that you did that. And of course, when we believe in them, they learn to believe in themselves. Actually, I have a little scenario that I want to share with you guys on this. So, I had a parent in my toddler class, and they had a child that was carrying a tray and it had two glass jugs on it. Of course, any parent would freak out that their 2-year-old is carrying a tray with two glass jugs. And she keeps saying, he's going to drop it, he's going to drop it. And he heard this. The child heard it. You're going to drop it, you're going to drop it, you're going to drop it. Be careful, you're going to drop it, be careful. And it was like 3 times. And I was trying to tell her, no, just trust him. Anyway, lo and behold, what happens? Of course, the child drops it, right? And it breaks. And she freaks out. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay. Relax, calm down. We can clean it up. It's all good. And I said to her, listen, let him carry the jugs, and I want you to stand back and believe that he has the capability to do it because he can do it. You just don't believe in him, and he's going to feed off that and feel that from you, and then there's the anxiousness coming on. So of course, again, he carried the tray with the jugs, and it was fine, and he did it. And then it was kind of at that moment that she realized, like, oh my God, actually, you're so right. I need to really step back. I need to really reflect on myself, and I need to not be anxious for my child because then you're going to literally put that onto them and then that's going to be the outcome. And then, of course, praise the effort, not just the outcome. We've spoken about that. Another one of my favorite quotes by Maria Montessori, of course, never help a child with a task at which he feels he can succeed. So again, finding those moments for independence, finding those moments where a child is going to feel like they can do something, because that really helps with their resilience. So if a child is independent and they feel confident that they can do things themselves, when they face adversity, when they face a challenge or a risk in life, they're going to be able to feel more confident to be able to do something. So independence is really tied into a child's resilience. So again, opportunities really quickly, dressing themselves, self-care. We know all of that in the house, household chores, contributing, watering the garden, meal prepping, setting the table, being involved in decision making. So often we just make decisions for children. We don't actually allow them to be involved in the decision making. A lot of the time we think we do, but we actually are not. So even in the small tasks of, which lunchbox would you like to take today, or you choose which one, or, which shoes would you like to wear today, whatever it is, those little opportunities make it actually builds their sense of self-worth. So instead of them just having things done to them all day, every day, like you got to think about it. If you were a 2, 3-year-old in a household, how many instructions do you receive a day? Probably 50 to 80 instructions a day. So it's super important that we allow children the opportunity to be independent, because these are the things that's going to help build their sense of self-worth and confidence. Okay, so I don't want to take too much time about that. There's probably other talks along that. Tips for risk-taking activities, because I know sometimes it's really hard to allow children to take risks because we're worried for their safety. And there's a fine line between, creating a safe and challenging play area, or even allowing for that exploration, and of course, keeping children safe. And you also have to think about, what's my personality? Do I allow children to take risks? Am I more risk averse? Do I feel like I need to keep children safe? It really does come down to how much leniency can you give yourself? Where does the line draw for you? Are you more of a risk taker yourself? Are you a little bit more anxious yourself? And it's a really good exercise to actually reflect and see, hey, what kind of an adult am I? Do I allow children to take risks because I'm a little bit risky? Am I a little bit anxious because that's how I grew up and my parents were always like, no, 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 don't do that. That's not safe. I don't know how many times, I've done something and my parents are like, be careful. How many times have I told you be careful? It's like ingrained in my brain. But, these are the things that we need to think about and reflect and think, okay, how can I allow my child to take risks in a safe way that's really going to introduce them to things like problem solving? You know, that looks really high. How are you going to manage that? Asking them questions, treating the mistakes as learning opportunities. Oh, you misjudged that log and fell, and how can we, look at that and see how we can do it next time? Maybe you need to use two, one foot in front of the other, or maybe you need to hold the railing, whatever it is. And of course, demonstrating positive risk taking. I remember we had these little balance stones, and I had this 1 2-year-old. She was so worried. They were only, this high, about stepping onto it. And she was like refusing. But she was curious though. She was looking, she kept watching all the children stepping on them, going from one to the other, one to the other. And I looked at her and I said, did you want to have a turn? And she just looked at me, and I knew she wanted to have a turn, but she was just feeling a little bit unsafe. So I said, you know what? I said, why don't you watch Miss Sylvia do it, and then I can help you do it. So I just carefully, stood on there, one foot in front of the other, really slowly, and got off it. And I said, now it's your turn. Would you like to hold my hand, or would you like to do it yourself? Obviously, she chose to hold my hand. But because I demonstrated it to her, she actually felt a lot more confident to do it. And then she did it. And then she eventually did it without even holding my hand in the same within 5, 10 minutes. So it's those situations that are learning opportunities. We're really showing children how to take risks. And then, of course, balancing that freedom with supervision, because we have a duty of care. So instead of saying be careful, the ultimate be careful, these are a few things that I'm quickly going to share with you that you can do to help in those scenarios. So again, describe what you see. I can see the rocks are slippery. Ask questions. What's your plan for climbing that tree or climbing the, slide, whatever it is that they're doing? Offer specific advice. So for that little girl, I would say, if you feel scared, you can hold my hand. It gives her a particular thing to do when she's feeling unsure or when she needs to take risks. Encourage awareness. So if you feel like, oh, I don't know, that's gonna, there's a little ledge there, there's a little, sometimes when the kids are riding bikes, we have a little ledge that they can actually hit and fall over. But I always tell them, remember, there's a ledge, or like show them, notice how the branch moves when you pull on it, so that they're becoming more aware. You're not telling them what to do with it, you're just giving them some advice or some awareness so that they can then make a decision about what's going on. Suggesting alternatives. So try walking instead of running on wet grass, pointing out consequences. So if you throw the sand, it might get in someone's eyes. The thing with the word be careful is that children don't actually know what we're telling them, right? It's a very blanket statement that says, I'm worried and you have no idea what I'm worried about, but I'm worried. And it doesn't actually give them anything to work with. So, this is why we do all of this. Guide them to assess risks. Do you feel safe doing that? How do you feel about that? Use positive reinforcement. So, you're being so careful on those rocks. I can see how you're holding on when you do this, whatever it is, because that's going to positively reinforce the behavior that you want to see to keep them safe. Provide gentle reminders. Remember to keep space between you and the person behind you if they're getting too close to each other and someone's pushing, and then help them to focus. So, all of these things in the bold are a lot more effective. They're ways that we actually build children's risk taking skills. These are the things that we're going to say and do that are going to change and shift the whole behavior and the internal dialogue of a child. So, these are just some quick tips and tricks on what to do to say instead of be careful. So, the next time you say be careful, you can try one of these things instead. So, quickly, I want to mention slow to warm children. So, society built this idea around shy children as having like a negative connotation. So, there's nothing wrong with a child that is shy. They might just be a bit retracted or anxious. They just are feeling uncomfortable, and it takes them a little bit of time to build their trust in the environment. So, it's our job to really make them feel comfortable, safe, and provide them with the tools to support them. Because a lot of the time people ask me, well, Sylvia, my child is really shy. How do I build their resilience? How do I build their risk taking ability? They just are so retracted and reserved. That's a character trait. It's sometimes a personality trait. I always ask the adult or the parent, were you like that? Or do you have that? They're like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, yeah. When I go into a room, I feel really, a bit anxious, a bit withdrawn. I said, well, it's actually okay. And the worst thing, oh my gosh, imagine you walking into a room and your friend is next to you and it's like you don't know anyone in that room and she is like Miss Bubbly Social. Hi, how are you? Oh, don't mind my friend. She's a bit shy. Oh my God, you would feel even worse. I would feel like, oh, that's so embarrassing. It's just like a child, when we say to them, oh, don't worry, they're just a bit shy. And then you try and speak on their behalf. So we're going to avoid doing that because, again, we don't want them to be associated with this label that might have a negative connotation to it. So, this is how we support reserved children. So, firstly, stop labeling them as shy or anxious or nervous. We just want to normalize it. Oh, it just takes them a little bit of time, to get used to the environment. And then talking on their behalf, like I would say, oh, hi, it's really nice to meet you. And then, kind of be there for your child. Build a sense of security in the environment. Let that child know that if they are feeling a little bit nervous or anxious, that you're there for them. I'm just letting you know I'm right here for you. If you need anything, I'm right here. You can hold my hand, you can give me a cuddle. Let them know that you're their security. And then when you feel ready, then you can, go and explore. Would you like me to come with you or would you like to try it on your own? Give them a choice. Allow them opportunities to make decisions. So if they are a little bit more reserved, ask them questions. Would you like to do this or this? Show me which one you'd like to do. give them that opportunity because that's really how they're going to be able to come out of their shell. Model for the child. Just like that child that was, stepping over the stepping stones, I modeled for them what that would look like. I did it super slowly, super intentionally, and I did it so carefully that she could actually watch and learn from that. I'm not just going to race over the set and go, see, it's easy. I did it. You can do it. You've got to really put yourself in that child's position and model for them what that looks like. Of course, supporting them and meeting them where they're at. Oh, you really don't feel comfortable doing that right now. That's okay. When you feel ready, we can try or we can do it together. We don't have to rush children. Childhood isn't a race. It's not like we just have to push them to do something because, that's how they're going to learn. Yes, we might encourage them. Yes, we might give them positive reinforcement, but we never have to put a child in a situation that they feel uncomfortable. Because, like I mentioned in the beginning, children have to feel secure. They have to feel confident and they have to feel safe in an environment so that they can build these skills. And of course, acknowledge their feelings and validate them. You're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. You're a bit anxious. It's okay to feel nervous. This is not only building their emotional intelligence, it's actually helping them to process what's going on. So a lot of the time we never say it to them. We think, oh no, I don't want to tell them that they're feeling that way because like it's going to make it worse. Actually, if you tell them to calm down and it's fine, that's going to make it worse. Because if you think about it, if we were really upset or frustrated or angry and someone told us to calm down, we would get even more agitated. Don't tell me to calm down. I'm not calm. I'm upset. I'm frustrated. We need someone to hear us out. Oh, that was so frustrating. Oh, I can't imagine how angry you are right now. Yeah, that's right. I feel better about that. It makes me feel, that someone's heard me. So we've really got to acknowledge them, validate them, and then give them the coping skills to build on that. So we're building their emotional intelligence. So this is my last slide. It's really building resilience is all about knowing that we can be loved exactly as we are. It gives us all the best opportunity for growing into the healthiest of people. Children really will build their resilience, their coping skills, their, confidence and their independence. And in the face of adversity or try something challenging when they feel secure, when they have that trusting relationship, and when they feel that they are confident from within them. It really does come intrinsically. This isn't something that you can just teach a child and be like, you're resilient now and you can do it. Take the risk. It's really about building it from the inside out. Children are really going to step up when they feel ready to do that. And our job as adults is really to help them feel that way internally. So making children feel a strong sense of self-esteem, strong sense of confidence and independence, and making them feel secure and allowing them to take risks. So it's super important that we give children the opportunities not only to be independent, but to be confident and to take risks. So that's that from me. Lucy, I'm super happy to open the floor for questions. I love hearing people's feedback. If there's particular scenarios that you're not sure about with children, please feel free to pop them in the comments. You guys can find me on all the platforms, just my name. I'm going to stop my sharing now. Okay.
Perfect. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Okay, I have a few questions here. So I will start with the questions here on Zoom from the people who bought the VIP pass or are members of the Childhood Potential Club.
Yeah.
First question. I know we can practice this as parents. How do we help others around us to do the same? For example, the grandparents, when they say things like this to help guide them to not and why simply.
Yeah, okay. So I always get the question about grandparents. Look, let me tell you something. You really can only do what you can do with your children. And what I would do in front of grandparents and stuff is maybe I would actually share some wins with them. You can never ever step in and tell them how to do things. They're the ones that raised you at the end of the day. And the thing is that you can just share with them, oh, the other day I saw them doing this. They were flying down the side. They were wearing a helmet. It was so much fun. So share some small wins with them. Sometimes you might let them know, oh, we're okay if they go down the slide or if so you're just letting them know small things along the way. Don't ever think that you can change anyone. You can only control what you have in front of you and the scenario and the environment that you are in. So if you have particular rules around your household, oh, in this house, we allow them to ride bikes, outside or whatever it is. So those small things that you can implement, but again, give them grace. Grandparents are the most loving, amazing people. They will really help your child, build that sense of relationship and trust, which is super important for building resilience. So no matter what they do and say, it's all good because at the end of the day, that relationship that they're building is way more important than anything else. And then you can do everything else aside from that. So that's my answer.
Okay, another one. What if the child doesn't want to do things by him or herself and constantly asks parent to do it for them? My daughter asks me a lot to help, and I'm sure she knows how to do certain things, like opening a yogurt, putting cookies into a bowl. How can I encourage her to do things by herself?
Yeah. So a child that you know is capable of doing things and is constantly asking for your help, they actually might be seeking connection. So that child is obviously needing that response from you or needing that connection. They might just be asking you because they feel like this is the way to build that connection with you. So I think that in these scenarios where a child that they're very capable of doing that themselves, they just constantly want you there. They're just looking for you know, that back and forth from you as a parent. So, number one, I would be finding some one on one time with that child to be doing things just dedicated for 5 minutes. Then, number two, to encourage them to do it by themselves, I would use these three steps. Number one, you really would love me to open your yogurt, right? Acknowledging. Number two, state your expectation. I'm just doing this right now. Okay. Number three, you can give them a choice. You can open it yourself or you can wait for a minute for me to finish what I'm doing. So, number one, that makes you not as available at that moment. Number two, you're giving that child the opportunity for choice to make a decision. So, again, we're building their decision making skills in that moment. And number three, sometimes when you just acknowledge them, oh, you really want me to do it. It's your turn to open the yogurt. Can you show me how to do it? Right. So that way I'm actually just putting it back on the child. Again, I've acknowledged them. I've stated something and I've actually shown them the way to do it. Oh, try using two hands. So there are a few factors in that. I would try each of those and see how you go. But really, it's about acknowledging them, meeting the child where they're at, and understanding that not all behavior is what it seems on the outside. It's because she's looking for something else underneath that. So it's not just because she wants you to do everything. And it depends on how old that child is as well.
Perfect. We have a question from school and with little older children. I don't know if this question is appropriate for this group. Parents, I also work in public schools with 6 to 7 years old. How to teach the kids to mind their manner and to not be affected by the others.
Can you repeat that, Lucy?
Um, how to teach the kids to mind their manner and to not be affected by the others.
Okay, like as in they if somebody says something negative to a child, or could I have a little bit more context for the person that asked that question? Could you just write a little bit more about a scenario or something that would be
Yeah,
really
that would be good.
helpful? Yeah.
Marika writes more. If another friend called them a bad name, how to teach the child not to take those bad words personally? We are often focused on the bad behavior from the other child, but the receiving child needs help too.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely go about building children's self-esteem. So like if oh, that would have made you feel really upset, so acknowledge the feelings of the child that got hurt by that. oh, that's really upsetting to hear those things. And then what I do is I usually give them a scenario where that's happened to me. So put yourself in the child's position and actually give them a scenario where it's like, you know what? I felt so disappointed one day when somebody called me that. And then tell them what you did about it and tell them how you felt better after that. And I know I'm not like that. And I just find, my some other friends, or I believe that I'm this. So you're giving them and not only a opportunity to build their affirmation for themselves, but you're relating them to yourself, knowing that all humans go through that. A lot of children feel really upset about things because they feel like it only happens to them. So I had a young little girl that was really upset for the same reason. Somebody, made her feel really bad about something. Of course, we spoke to the other child. And then I spoke to that child and I said, you know what? Yesterday I had such a bad day because I felt exactly the same way. And then when I went home and I reflected on that, I realized, I feel like this about myself. And I didn't really let that bother me. But even as adults, we do feel that way. So sometimes just acknowledging the fact that we also go through things like that is okay. And just being there for them. What can we do to make you feel better? Like, what is it? And allowing you to build that with them. So building that emotional intelligence. It's not just about when they feel upset or sad or frustrated, what we can do, but what makes them feel happier, what makes them, compassionate to others, what do they feel makes them, build that kind of sense of self-worth. So we don't pay too much attention to it, but we acknowledge them and then we help them kind of build that. Children are very resilient. They'll forget about that within 10 minutes. So I think it's like, addressing it, being there for them, and then guiding them through it and then moving on as well. And of course, working on the other side and helping that child that actually did say those particular words.
Okay, I have another question here. What about compete issue? If children often compete, who first goes to the kitchen, go to the gym, etc., how to encourage not to compete?
Yeah, so that this is a really good one. I get that question all the time. Number one, we really need to focus on the effort. Children naturally have competition inbuilt in them, right? It's like, oh, I was first, I want to be first, blah, blah, blah. We hear it all the time. Everyone wants to win. It's part of our society that has built this outcomes driven society, right? It's all around us. We need to be performing at work, we need to be number one, all that kind of stuff. So, what we do is we really focus on the effort of something, even when they're playing, even when they are doing something that might come first, second, or third, whatever it is. Oh, everyone puts so much effort in, and it's because when we focus on the outcome, this is what drives children to then always want to be first because they think it's actually superior. They think, okay, if I'm first, then I'm better than someone. So we have to almost break down the idea of them thinking that competition is whatever. And I would just be very neutral about it. Oh, you got to the kitchen first. Oh, your brother got to the kitchen second. Like, and just kind of neutralize that. But children innately are going to have that competitive drive in them. It's not necessarily a bad thing. We just need to be focusing on building their intrinsic motivation, number one. So making sure that they know that the most important thing here is not who came first, but the effort you put in. So if you did put extra effort in and you really did, say, practice so hard and you did win that tournament, good on you because you put the effort into doing that. It's not the fact that they came first. So it's really going back to how are we building their intrinsic motivation outside of these scenarios? You can neutralize it in that scenario and then again building that out the effort over the outcome. So that's how we minimize that competition in children.
Another question was here back to the bullying, or what Sylvia was just saying, how should receiving child act when being bullied? And Adrian was asking before if it's okay for the child to say stop to the other child.
Yeah, for sure. So of course, if a child is on the receiving end and they don't like something, it's super important that we tell them to like, or we model for them to say that to the other person. Excuse me, that hurt my feelings, stop, I don't like it. That's so important. This is all about building resilience. We need to teach children how to stand up for themselves, how to communicate if they don't like something. So that's really important, whether it's in the home, whether it's in the classroom, it's really important. Excuse me, that really hurt my feelings. I don't, and as soon as a child says that to another child, the other child will feel a sense of disappointment or sorrow because they don't innately, children are not naughty, they're not bad, they do things because they don't know anything else to do. That child that was probably saying those things was probably feeling insecure. They didn't feel confident in that moment. They felt upset and they didn't know how else to manage it, so they took it out on the other child. It doesn't mean that they necessarily mean what they say. So yeah, absolutely, it's totally fine, and we should be telling children, excuse me, I don't like that, it hurts my feelings, whatever it is, stop, I don't like it. And then, yeah, letting them know what else to say if they feel a certain way. Because usually the child that's doing the bullying might feel frustrated and they don't know how to communicate what happened in an appropriate way. So they just start with the name calling or the, I don't like you and whatever else it is, but they don't actually mean it.
What about the children who have no motivation and are not putting any effort?
Yeah. Sounds like teenagers. Are they teenagers or teenagers? Because this is like a wait. If you think they're not doing it now, just wait until they're teenagers. It's almost an impossible battle that you're never going to win. So with the child that has no motivation, it's really about modeling for them, helping them, and then slowly taking the scaffolding away. Oh, that's so hard for you. And a lot of the time, we never acknowledge the struggle for that child or the fact that they have no motivation. You really don't feel like doing that today. Oh, I don't feel like doing that every day, right? As soon as you say that to a child, automatically you've connected with them. Then you can go on to doing and motivating them and helping them. A lot of the time, we just say, "Oh, I know you can do it. Why don't you want to do it? Come on, we have to go now. Hurry up. You're not listening to me." Or, like, how many times have I had to ask you? It's not the way to get a child on board. So, we really have to connect with them. We really have to just get down to their level and say, you know what? That's so tiring to do that. Oh, look at all these toys that we have to put away. I don't want to do that. I'll do the yellow ones and you do the green ones, right? That's how you motivate a child to do it. Make it fun, make it playful. Don't make it a chore. Model for them, get involved yourself, and then slowly start taking those scaffolds away. But it's really about acknowledging and connecting with a child, because if you haven't connected with them and they don't have that relationship, no other next steps they're going to listen to.
Perfect. Thank you. Sylvia, I have probably last question, or there is one more question which shows that we can perfect. No, I
Yeah,
will
okay. So
ask.
the
Okay.
yeah, so the what are the signs which show that the child can perfect the activity he is or she is trying to do? If
Yeah.
they repeat it nonstop. So if a child is like constantly repeating that activity, you can tell that A, they're trying to build that skill set and they're really trying to master that. So that's how you know that the activity is at that child's level. If they've perfected it, of course, they've you've seen them complete that activity and they've done it from start to finish in that process, whatever that might be. So look for the repetition, because that shows you that they really are in the process of mastering that particular activity. If they're not interested in it at all, it's either too easy or too hard for them. So that's a really good way to understand if something is at the right level for that particular child or trying to do.
Perfect. Sylvia, anything that you wanted to say and maybe didn't say, or anything that you feel like should be said?
Don't be too hard on yourself, like you guys are doing it as a parent, as a grandparent, you guys are doing the best that you possibly can do. There is so much information. Take things one step at a time. Take one little gem from today that you think, what, that really resonated with me. I'm going to implement that this week, or I'm going to try doing that, and just have fun. These years are the most like the most fun and amazing years of a child's life. Don't take it too seriously. Just try your best, be intentional, be conscious, and just enjoy those years because trust me, after that, it just gets quicker, faster, and they're all grown up, and then they're not even going to want you. They're not even going to ask you for help. And then you're going to be so sad and lonely. So it's just, these are the years that count the most. They're the most blessed years. And I just think, just have fun with it and lower that expectation on yourself and pressure.
Thank you. Thank you that you said that because very many people feel like, oh, I'm learning so much and I messed up so many things already, and I should have heard this 3 years
Yeah.
ago, 10 years ago, or 30 years ago. I think it's really important to say that we are doing our best. Yeah. And each one of the people, a person who is here, we are learning, you are learning. And so many people I see every single day learning. Some people I see every single year, every single day learning.
Yeah. But
So
thanks
yeah, you do.
everyone, yeah, for their time. And thanks, Lucy, for having me again.
Yes.
I'll always be in the living room of childhood potential, not going anywhere.
Thank you. I have two more things here. The first one is I talked with Gavin, who had a live talk on Monday with us, and he told me today that he got so many nice messages on his social media profiles, on his Facebook, on his Instagram, on his WhatsApp. And I wanted to tell you, it's a really nice way to show appreciation to all of the speakers who are part of this conference. Show them your love, find them on the social media, comment on their posts, tell them that you loved their session, tell them what you loved about their session, or LinkedIn. Thank you, Sylvia. And you know, uh, tell them that their presentation somehow mattered if you liked it. And I think it will make it always makes, or at least I believe that it always makes people feel better and more appreciated and to feel the love from outside as well. Am I right, Sylvia, or am I
Yeah,
completely somewhere
absolutely.
else?
Of course. No, and we're very open. Like I know Gavin and we all know each other and it's such a nice way. Like when people, if they have any other questions, like we're always here, to help and getting that feedback, it just makes us want to do what we do even more. And, yeah, we're all very passionate about it. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was my point number one. Send love to the speakers. And my point number two is that I'm going to show you the wheel of names because I have copied every single one name that is here on Zoom and every single comment that was on YouTube. And hold on, I will. Okay, now you see my Chrome and now you see the wheels of names, right? So I have here an ad and all of the names that were here and all of the comments, and you can see everyone here. And we are playing for, or not playing, but we are choosing one person who gets 3 months in the Childhood Potential Club, which is our membership, where you can get personal support, like one-on-one support. There is a library of all of the different videos and courses that we have ever done before. So 300 plus, maybe 400 plus now, right now. There is also one-on-one mentoring. There is peer mentoring in the group. There are some Child Potential Club members here on Zoom, so maybe um, you would comment what you like the most. But um, I will spin and we will see who wins. Ta-da! And I will keep on doing this every single session from now on. So, what? Barbara. And I know that because it's a single name, I know that it was on Zoom. So I will find you here on Zoom. So if Barbara is here on Zoom, please share. If not, I will try to find you. And stop sharing. Perfect. Yeah, she left. I saw her. Brenda and Barbara was here. It's okay. Find her. Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. And tomorrow we have another live talk, and I will give you the exact name of the live talk again so I don't make it up. It's with Ellen Roche, and it's about what are the ideal learning environments in the age of AI. So we meet tomorrow, 2 hours earlier than was the live talk today, the first one. So at 6 p.m. of my Czech time or Central European time, it's 9 a.m. Pacific, or what is it? 12 noon Eastern time. And I hope I will see you tomorrow. I'm really glad that you are coming to the live talks, that you are here live. You're not just watching the recordings. And yeah, I hope to see you tomorrow. And Sylvia, thank you again
Bye. Thanks,
so much
everyone.
for being here. Okay.
Anytime.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.